I'm Allie Z, and welcome to my Flosstube. This is a channel where I talk about cross stitch. I am forever promising to film more and then not, but this is hopefully going to be a WIP parade. Just to share a little bit about myself for folks who might be new to the channel, I am 37. I live in Philadelphia, PA with my fabulous fiance and my very anxious and very adorable pit bull, Lucy, who was named Lucy because she's always got some splaining to do. Yeah, I do some other crafts. I have recently gotten really into quilting, and I also have learned how to knit, so I do some knitting, but I would say cross stitch is probably my primary craft of choice. I love all things colorful, rainbow, sparkle, magic, joy. I'm super into Disney. I love musicals. Let's see. What else do you need to know about me? I don't know. My stitching is primarily more, I would say more modern. Yeah, definitely more modern patterns. I really love many designers. I have projects across a wide variety of designers, but I especially love stitching fancy ladies because I love how sparkly they are, particularly Mirabilias. I also really have recently gotten very into stitching chatelaines, also very large and sparkly. Yeah. So let's get started. I was not sure what order to put these WIPs in. I considered doing them sort of by like category, but I think it's more fun. I like when people mix up their WIP parades. I love seeing like, you don't know what's going to come next. So I decided to do the same. I am, however, starting with the pieces that I have worked on most recently. So I am going to start this WIP parade with my most recent start. This I actually just started on Friday. It was my first start of 2026. It is the piece that convinced me to rejoin the Witchy Stitchers Patreon. And this is Please Be Patient by the Witchy Stitcher. I am stitching this on 14 count Aida with all of the called for DMZ. I will be giving this as a gift to my friend who is also my boss. This pattern just screams her. She is into all of that stuff. I think she'll like really be into it. And here is my start. I just started on the top border. It's looking pretty good. 14 count black Aida, super easy to stitch on. You know, I put something white behind it. I actually often, pro tip, often when I am stitching on dark fabric, I will take like handkerchiefs or like a piece of felt or something and stick it in the project bag with the project. So that way I always have like a light surface to put underneath the dark fabric. So here we go. Please be patient. That's my, whoop. That's my little start. That's my little start. A bit of an inauspicious start to the WIP parade as my WIP keeps falling down, but we'll work on that. All right. So that was, like I said, my most recent start. I just got a design board, very fancy. I finally caved. I told myself I was gonna make one, and I just never did. So I finally caved and bought one. So here we are. Okay. Next up is my second most recent new start. This is Telemark Fancy by Modern Folk Embroidery. This is a Biscornu pattern. I've never made a Biscornu before. I am stitching it on 40 count flax linen. And here is my whopping start. Ooh, here is my whopping start. I have started the top border. That 64 on the top is the number of stitches I put into the border. And I am stitching this with a Cottage Garden threads called Butterfly. That is the thread that I chose. This year I have a goal to use more of I have so many beautiful, beautiful, like crazy colored, variegated hand-dyed flosses. And I said, I love everything rainbow, sparkly, glittery. And so I end up buying these patterns that are very colorful and sparkly like chatelaines and fancy ladies, but for those you really want to use the colors that are called for because that's part of the whole thing. And so I also end up buying like beautiful colorful flosses, and then I don't use them because I am stitching patterns that like have very specific called for color. So one of my goals this year is to start some more patterns that allow me to use my pretty fancy floss. So Telemark Fancy, Biscornu, that was one of my starts to move towards that goal. I'm excited about that. Like I said, 40 count, flax, linen, generally 40 count is going to be, whoop. I can't believe I just did that. All right. Generally 40 count is going to be 1 strand of floss over 2 strands of linen thread in the fabric. So yeah. Very pretty. I love those colors. Also, quick note, my stuff is like all spread out around me in sort of like a ring. So I will definitely be sort of like reaching and moving and stuff. Hopefully not too many zippy sounds, but we'll see. Also, you can tell I'm a little rusty because I already managed to hit myself in the face with my design board. So that's cool. Good. Great start. We're off to a great start. All right. Next up, I'm going to show a piece that I had not worked on in a while. And then when I was pulling out the projects for my WIP parade, I found it and was like, oh, I love this piece. This is really fun. I should work on this. So this is Floral Lace by Works by ABC. I started this back in 2023, I think was the year I went to a bunch of retreats at Stitch, New Jersey. I really love Works by ABC's designs. Arlene, the designer, is really wonderful. I've had the opportunity to meet her and spend time with her a few times, and she's like a really interesting lady. Her designs are very, very cool. She pulls from her day job as a math teacher. She pulls from her like really deep interest in the history of like needlework and fiber arts. And yeah, I just really love her stuff. I have a few of her patterns in this WIP parade. I own a lot of them and want to stitch them. But yeah, so this is the smallest, I believe, of her lace patterns. She has several really gorgeous large lace patterns. And the thing that's cool about this, so I'm going to hold it up so you can see how beautiful it looks. So I am stitching mine on, I believe it's 28 count Diva Lugana by Picture This Plus. I love this color. This hot pink is everything. And one of the really cool things about her lace designs, especially this one, is that the way that she achieves sort of the different saturations is through a different number of threads. So on the pattern, it's written to be stitched in one color, but the different symbols denote different different strand amounts for the thread that you use. So if you look, I'm going to hold it up closer. So like the really thick stitches are done with 3 strands, and then you have these that are done with 2 strands, and then you can see the lighter spot that's done with 1 strand. So it causes this really beautiful effect. And I know in some of her lace patterns too, there's like, she has sections that are done in like half stitch as well. Yeah, and so it's coming out really beautifully. Now it's interesting. So the floss that I'm using, it shows up pretty white on this fabric, but it is actually called Cosmos Field by Forbidden Fiber Co. And I'm going to try holding it up against the white design board because it's actually like a pale, like pinky purple. Let's see if you can see. Oh yeah. So if I hold it up against the white design board, you can see the like pale pink in it. But against that pink, it just shows up white, which I like. I think it sort of softens up the harshness of the white a little bit. And I just think it looks great on this fabric. I love it. It's coming out beautifully. It's poppin'. Yeah, and it's just a joy to work on. It's very easy to work on. It's fun to use different numbers of strands. So there we go, floral lace. And that's one of the things that's fun about a WIP parade is like you pull out things that you don't work on. Like this, I have not touched in ages, and I pulled it out and I was like, this is so pretty. I should work on this. And I wanted something easy. And I only had like, I had this middle flower, I had those, and I had started one of these and I like filled in those 4 and I finished that border and that was like in one night. So I'm going to keep that out. I'm really enjoying working on it. And it's not a big piece. You will hear me say a lot. So a quick word about my WIP philosophy. So I am very much a SWE stitch what you want stitcher. That's what SWE is. I do not like deadlines. I do not like rules. The minute someone's like, you have to stitch this, that is the minute that I do not want to stitch it anymore. So I don't tend to make like super strict goals for myself. I will do things like say, oh, Mermaid Monday or Owl Forest Friday, or you know, oh, I want to finish this piece by next year. But I really do try not to make very strict goals or rules for myself about what to stitch, because that's pretty much a guarantee that I won't want to stitch on it. So I go where the wind takes me. And similarly with my WIPs and starts. So, and I said this in other videos, but I think it bears repeating. I understand. So I start things when I want to start them. I don't put a limit on myself. I think many stitchers, including myself, have a huge stash. I find starting things to be kind of anxiety provoking because I'm always nervous that I'm like starting in the wrong spot, or I didn't leave enough room, or what if I picked the wrong fabric? So if I'm going to stitch on something, I have to start it. And so I don't place limits on myself for how many things I start because, you know, Fiber Arts Amy, who I am friends with, once said to me, if you don't stitch on it, then you never get to stitch on it. Even if you never get to finish it, at least you get to stitch on it. And I am very much a process stitcher. Like for me, I stitch things because I want the experience of stitching them, not because I'm like dying to hang them up. So when she said that, that really resonated with me. And I do understand, like, listen, I counted, I made a list of all my WIPs. I think I have 64 WIPs. Like, that's a lot. And there are days where I'm like, I want to work on all the things. What do I work on? Like it definitely can cause a little bit of like decision fatigue and overwhelm, but ultimately I do love having the number of options that I do. And, you know, I sort of stitch what I feel called towards. There are days where I stitch on 4 different projects because I do like an hour on something and then I switch it out and do an hour on something else, or, you know, and then I get tired, so I want to do something easier, or I want to finish like a specific section of something. There are days where I'm like, you know what, I am really feeling this. I'm going to put as many stitches as possible into this one WIP. Like I really, like I said, I go where the wind takes me. So I do have a lot of WIPs, but I feel good about that, honestly. Again, as a process stitcher, I don't have a ton of finishes. I do tend to start things. I've been stitching since 2019, so this is 7 years of WIPs. I don't think any of the WIPs that I currently have are from 2019, but like I have some sitting in like, you know, on my like long-term timeout shelf that I might get back to. I don't know. We'll see. So anyway, back to the stitching. So next up, we have one of my pride and joys, a BAP, a big ass, big awesome project. This project I do have a goal for. So this is Halloween at Hawk Run Hollow by Carriage House Samplings. I love this project. I saw this project pretty early on in my journey when I found Flosstube. Lots of people have stitched it. I'm sure you know what it looks like. But I love it. And I immediately wanted to stitch it. I like Halloween a lot. And when I started it, I was still pretty early in my stitching journey. I want to say it was 2020 or 2021 that I started it. And at that point, I had never stitched on 40 count. But I bought a piece of 40 count for it and I started it on the 40 count so it would be smaller, and I was like, this is a nightmare. It's too small. I can't see it. I don't like it. And I had a piece of 32 count Lugana in the called for color. So I was like, cool, I'll just do it on the 32 count Lugana that I have. And I love that decision. So I will say, on the Lugana, on 32 count, it is very large. I joke around all the time that it's going to be my shroud. Here it is. Sorry, I have wet armpit there. Okay, here we go. Here it is. Peeking around the side here. Hello. So you can see how large it is. I mean, this is a fat half of fabric. It takes up most of the fat half. I finished the borders. This actually, believe it or not, despite being huge, is a travel piece for me. So I figured this is all DMC. It's all the called for DMC. They also have an NPI version. And I figure I can wash this at the end. And like I said, all DMC. So clearly I am kind of out of practice at the whole floss tube thing. But there's a lot of sections of this that have a lot of block stitching and fill in. So for example, right now I am working on block number 5, which is this mermaid block. And I am filling in. So this entire background gets filled in with blue. So you can see I've finished that. I am filling this in. See, I haven't even gotten here yet, but I'm filling in the second, and then this gets all filled in with blue. So it is a lot of block stitching. And actually part of how I got the borders done is that anytime I was in a place where I didn't want to have to follow a pattern, like I was in the car or I was traveling somewhere and didn't think I'd have space to follow a pattern, I would just bring this and work on the borders, because each block is 92 by 92. And once I got the first block in, which I counted approximately 17,000 times, once I got that first border in, I just count everything else off of that first border. So I have all the borders done. I have the first 4 blocks done. Yeah, the first 4 blocks done. This block, I'm just filling in the background. And so I decided to start this block because I figured I can use this fill-in for, again, times where I'm traveling or whatever. And then when I want to read a pattern, I can work on this block. Because this is just easy fill-in stitching. It's great for like bringing along to a friend's house when I don't want to have to sit still and stuff like that. I actually love the way this looks on the 32 count. I think it is huge. I have said to my fiance that if I die before this is done, like I would really want this to go to a stitcher who would finish it, but there is a part of me that's like, it's fine. It can just be my shroud because it is so large, but I love it. This will be getting, when it is done, it will be getting framed. It will be getting put on the wall and it will stay up there 24/7, 365, because there's no way I'm taking this beauty down when it's not Halloween. Yeah, it's looking amazing. And I actually love the way it looks on the larger fabric. Well, lower count, larger X's fabric, because I feel like you can really see like the detail. You can really see the images. You can really, like, it gives it some heft and some size. And I actually really like that. So these blocks vary in stitch count. Like, for example, obviously this block has a lot more stitches with all those background stitches than like this block, which, you know, this whole background is empty. Like, you just have the one lightning bolt. There's like a little bit of text, but ultimately I think this has been the fastest block so far, this 4th one. I'm saving the witches in the middle for last. And I do have a goal for this. So my goal for this project is, so my birthday's in May and I am turning 38 this year. And my goal is to get this done by the Halloween of the year that I'm 40. So I am turning 38 this year, so I have like a little more than 2.5. I have almost 3 years because I haven't quite made it to my birthday this year. My birthday's in May, like I said. So I basically have 3 years to finish this. I'm a little behind technically because if I wanted to be like on schedule, I would need to be finished with 2 blocks a year. That being said, it's a loose goal. I go through periods where I like stitch on this constantly. I go through periods where I you know, pick it up every now and again. This is a year-round stitch for me, so I'm not super worried about it. I also think as I get closer to the time that I want it done, I'm going to be like, oh, I'm so excited to get it done. Oh, it's so close. And I'm going to be like stitching on it a lot. But we'll see. There's a few, I think this block, I believe, is completely full coverage. This block is almost full coverage. So there's a few like really heavy blocks coming up. But again, I use this, I travel quite a bit. This is a great travel project. This is a great retreat project. I like always bring it along with me places. It's kind of stinky, smells a little bit like my dog, so it will definitely be getting washed when it's done. But yeah, that's Halloween at Hawk on Hollow. Ta-da! All right. Yeah, that's a pretty one. I really love that project. And yeah, I love the size of it too. I really do. All right, next up, we have another travel project for me. This is not something I've ever seen anyone else stitch. And I will say, so I bought this. This is the Remember Me pin kit. And I actually bought this on a trip to an LNS. It is called, I always want to call it Hoity Toity. It is not. It's called Hodgepodge. It's out in like Amish country, Pennsylvania. It's really cute. It's really awesome. I really loved it. And I picked this up and I've never seen anyone else stitching it. I never would have bought this like if I saw it online, but it just really spoke to me. I love the roses. I like the flowers. Like, it's not my usual style at all, but it just, I don't know. There's something about it. I love those like the blue, the deep like indigo roses. Anyway, I also don't know why I decided to make this a travel project, but probably because it's small and like easily contained and like there's not a lot of colors. But this actually is a travel project for me. I'm stitching it on 36 count Chai by Seraphim, I think. I'm doing it with 1 strand of floss over 2 strands of linen, so 1/2 because I don't mind like a more prim look for this, and it's hand dyed. So here's where I'm at. Again, no deadline on this. This is a nice little travel project. Honestly, it probably has some stitches that are like mistakes or stitched weird, because I've stitched it in like dark rooms and like, you know, brought it with me to places where I couldn't really see, but it's fine. Yeah, it's really pretty. I like the idea of finishing it as like a little pin keep or a pillow. Yeah, it's just really cute. Color palette is again like much sort of primmer and less colorful than I usually go for, but I'm into it. It's good. It's a good travel piece, honestly. Yeah. All right, next up. We're gonna have our first fancy lady of this WIP parade. This is my most recent fancy lady start. This is Portrait of Veronica by Mirabilia. This piece, so I will say this. The thing that gets me about a fancy lady is the dress. I've always been into fashion, particularly bridal fashion. I like love a fancy dress. I love a big dress. Like when I was a kid, I loved like dressing up my Barbies. I was always into like, you know, like looking at fashion magazines and things. And I don't really follow fashion and I certainly don't wear fashion, but I love a big dress. And Portrait of Veronica is one of the biggest dresses. And I love her. Initially I wasn't sure if I would want to stitch her because green is not really my color, but I saw someone had stitched her and I saw her in person, and like the photos really don't do these fancy ladies justice. And having seen her in person, I realized that the greens were actually a lot more teal leaning, and I love teal. So I was like, I have to stitch her. This is stitched on a piece of Bestitch Me fabric. It's 28 count Sweet Pea. It was bought on a D-stash. I looked on their website because I wanted to try and get a piece of it in 32 count and I didn't see it. So I don't know if this was like, excuse me. I don't know if this was like a fabric of the month or like in a box or something, but I could not find, or an old color, like I could not find it for sale. And I actually decided, because she's a fancy lady in a big dress, I actually decided that I wanted to convert her to all silks. So here is my start. I went through a lot of like, oh, is this fabric gonna work? But I actually think it's gonna look beautiful. I love the way the black already looks against it. So like I said, I converted her completely to silks. Here's my little ring of silks. I live right near a store called Rittenhouse Needlepoint, which is primarily a needlepoint store, but they've actually been adding like a bunch of cross stitch stuff lately. And I went there and I went through like all of their silks and I brought like the DMC. I pulled the DMC colors and then I just went through and converted all of the DMC to like all these different silks. So you can kind of see against this, I think the teal will look beautiful. I'm like really excited to see it as I start putting color in. The black that I am using is India Ink by Gloriana. It is my favorite black silk. There are other great black silks out there, but this black is just so like gorgeous and rich and dark. I just love it. I love it. If I could stitch all of my black everything in India Ink, I would be delighted. The coverage actually looks pretty good. I was like kind of nervous because because when you're up close to it, you can see the fabric through the stitches. And I was like, oh, I don't love that coverage. I wish it was on 32. But when I hold it back here, looks great. So that's reassuring to see. Yeah, it's looking beautiful. I'm like very excited about it. I'm getting little fuzzies. There's dog hair on every single one of my projects. But yeah, it's looking good. I pulled from like every type of silk imaginable. I have like, this is Rainbow Gallery Splendor. I have needlepoint silk. I have Soie Cristal, which is like so a lot of stitchers have used Karen water lilies, which are like a variegated floss. Soie Cristal is also by Karen, and it is their solid crystals, solid silks. So they are solid colors, and they're beautiful. So I pulled some Soie Cristal. I have some Soie d'Alger. So like lots of different silks. Sorry about the crinkling. Lots of different types of silks. I also pulled, Threadworks actually makes over-dyed Kreinik. And I pull, and it makes it like a little bit softer and nicer to work with. And Kreinik has been really hard to get. So I pulled an over-dyed Threadworks Kreinik to be the sparkly for this. Yeah, I'm excited. There were a few colors that I couldn't get like an exact match for. So as I stitch it up, like this is the silk that I pulled for 747. And like actual 747 is like lighter and brighter, but this color works in with like the rest of the colors that I pulled, so I'm hoping that it looks good. I'm excited. Of course, stitching with silks is like lovely and very pettable, so her whole dress is going to be in the silks, and then the rest of the pattern, like her face and her hair and stuff, I'm going to do in DMC. So that is Portrait of Veronica. Yeah, I'm loving her. She's beautiful, although she's a lot of black. There's a lot of black stitches in there. All right, next up is another fancy lady. This is Snow Maiden, also by Mirabilia. And this, I originally was not that into it because I am not like a winter girly. I don't really like winter. But once I really looked at her and again saw her in person, and her colors are all like teals and blues and lavenders, and I love those colors. So I decided to start her. This is my start. I'm trying to remember what fabric I put her on. I want to say it's called Morning Mist. Hold on, I have her project bag on the floor, but here she is. She's on 32 count. I started in her face and at the top of her head. There's a lot of like sparklies up here, which I'm excited to put in. Lots of beads in her hair. She's looking great on this. I love her on the gray fabric. To me, that gray, especially with these, like, there's some, it's hard to see because of the wrinkles, but there's some like patches of lighter color in the modeling that to me sort of feels like a snowy gray kind of color, which works for Snow Maiden. Now I want to look and see what that fabric is. It's funny because normally I'm really good at like remembering my fabrics, and it annoys me that I don't remember what fabric this is. Let's see. Is it in here? Did I write it somewhere? Oh, yep. Morning Mist. I was right. Haha. It is Morning Mist by Fiberlicious. So there we go. Yeah, she's going to be stunning. I just, you know, I work on her when I want to. I enjoy myself. It's great. Fabulous. All right, next up we have a Lindy Stitches project. This is, what is this called? This is called Beautiful Things. I always want to call it Oh My Darling, but it is called Beautiful Things. It looks like this. Oh my darling, it's true. Beautiful things have dents and scratches too. I love that message. And so I really wanted to stitch this. And I decided to do a complete conversion from Stash. And I did this conversion with the help of Cam from Cam the Stitcher. She is like a color wizard. She does amazing color conversions. If you ever need help with the color conversion, ask her because she's great at it. I pulled a bunch of overdyed flosses from my stash. Here is my ring of colors that I pulled. Obviously all sorts of different brands. You have Roxy Floss Co. You have Color and Cotton. There's Threadworks on here. I have a Fangirl Fibers on here. There's Night Stalkers. So lots and lots of different options for colors. Yeah, I am very excited to see how this is going to come out. And I am stitching this on, see, I'm like telling you all about the colors and not showing you the project. So I am stitching this on 36 count Ancient by Picture This Plus. 36 count is my least favorite fabric count. I do not really like stitching on it because I feel like 2 strands is too thick and 1 strand is too sparse. This I am stitching with 1 strand because I kind of wanted like a little bit of a sparser look. Also, Picture This Plus is notoriously tight, so I figured it would be fine, and it does in fact look fine. Here is where I am. That leaf was a lot of stitching. I'm very happy to be done with it. I started on the flowers and bird, and this pot is also going to be a lot of stitching because I was very excited to get to the words and things, so I wanted to stitch my vegetables first. Not that this isn't fun to stitch, it is, but I really do enjoy stitching words, and I know they go pretty quick, and that's like the stuff that I like picked fun colors for is all like the words and things, so yeah, so I wanted to stitch this first. I'm excited. I picked Hussy by Roxy Floss Co. for the flowers, and this is like a really pretty color. It's like a winey wine, like a wine grapey purple that's like very variegated. I love it. So that's really fun. I might do one of the flowers in Cranberries by Night Stalker's Calling. That's this color, which is like, again, beautiful variegated reds. I think I'm going to do the text in Jungle Nights by Leo and Roxy, well, Roxy Floss Co. now, which is like a deep, like tealy, foresty green, really pretty. I love that. Yeah, it's just like, I just pulled a bunch of fun colors. I have this color Hagstones by Bryn Needle that I think I'm going to use for like the fencing. And it's like very variegated, so I'm excited to use that. Yeah. So just a ring of fun stuff. There's a border as well that has like a variety of colors, so I figure I'll just pull colors from this to put in the border. Yeah. So I'm excited to see as these colors go in, like what they're gonna look like. I think it looks beautiful. Here, I'll show it up against the fabric. Woo. I think all these colors like look really pretty on the fabric. I'm very, very excited and happy with it. So that is where that is at. All right, next up we have the Crafter Owl by Nathnolu. So this is actually part of like a little series of crafty animals that Nathnolu has put out. There is the Crafty Owl, and then there's a knitting crow who's called Cozy Nest, and now Nathnolu just put out a quilting fox as well that's like adorable. So of course, so originally I was just going to stitch the crow and the owl, but of course now I have to include the fox, so we'll see. But anyway, I started with the owl because I love owls. I'm like an owl girly. And here is my progress. I'm actually most of the way done with this. So here is my crafty owl. She's so cute. I love her. I also got an owl needle minder as a gift, and I had to leave it on there because it is the same type of owl, and so it matches. I love it. Anyway, this is stitched on 36 count flannel flower. I am stitching this with 2 strands to get like really puffy plush coverage. I have the other half of this fat quarter is going to be for my knitting crow. Yeah, this is close to done. I have to do the plant. I have to fill in this chair, and there's like some shadows under here, and then I'm done. So cute. Also, it's so funny. You never think about like, things are always more stitches than you think. Like one day I sat and I just like filled in this whole owl, and I was like, wow, like I really didn't get a ton done today. And then I looked at my stitch count and it was like 750 stitches. And I was like, oh, I guess I did get something done today. But yeah, so stinking cute. And like the crow is really cute. Nathnolu's patterns, blank board, very nice. Nathnolu's patterns are like really, really cute. I love all of them, but especially these crafty animals. They're adorable. And I want to frame them in like wooden hoops next to each other. We'll see. I am very good at stitching, not so good at finishing. I am sure that I will get these stitched, and then they will sit forever waiting to get framed, but that's okay. All right, next up we have, this is a stitch along that I instigated and started at StitchCon. Last year was my first year going to StitchCon. I had a really good time. And I decided that I wanted to stitch a piece that was tone on tone. And I asked my table mate, Stephanie, who is Cross Stitch the Globe, what her favorite color was, and she said red. So I was like, great. So I bought red fabric, and I am stitching a red, oh my God. Is anyone else seeing what I'm seeing right there? That is, whoop, all right. Wow, I just totally lost track of what I was saying. All right. Woo, okay. I found this beautiful pattern and decided that I wanted to stitch it sort of tone on tone because the original was also sort of tone on tone. This is a French Rosé by Running with Needles and Scissors. A French Rosé. And they had the actual finish, like the actual model at StitchCon, and it was beautiful and the colors were very subtle. And so of course I decided to do a tone on tone in a very loud color. So this is my tone on tone version of a French Rosé. I am doing it on red. Wow, you like can't even see the stitching. That is wild. Okay, let me hold it closer. There we go. So this is stitched on, this is 40 count curtain call by Lapin Loops. Beautiful fabric. I did notice that these stitches were tiny, and so when I measured the fabric, it actually is more of like a 43 count, which, I mean, we know fabric shrinks after hand dyeing, but these stitches are teensy, and like I said, I'm stitching it tone on tone. So that is, you can see my stitching better if I hold it up here. Yep. I love the way this is coming out. I feel like it looks like it was stitched and then like the fabric was dyed. This is I am using Strawberry Shortcake silk. It's a Belle Soie silk. It is beautiful. It's so nice to work with. This is my first time using Belle Soie. I love it. It's like super soft. It's beautiful. It's really, really pretty on this red fabric. So that is a French rosé. I'm hoping to have that finished by StitchCon this year. We will see. It's not that big. But obviously I need very good light and a magnifier to work on that, because it is hard to see, because it is tone on tone and it is tiny. But I keep pulling it up because it just looks so cool. Ooh, ooh. Yeah, so I'm finishing the borders and then I'm going to stitch the inside. Loving it. And actually, so Andrew, the runner stitcher, is also stitching this. Stephanie from Cross Stitch the Globe is stitching this. And then the rest of my table at StitchCon also started versions of this. Everyone sort of chose like a coordinating tone palette. So some people did like a red with like a lighter pink floss. Some people are doing red on red like me. And actually Andrew and I split a piece of fabric. So he has the other half of this fabric, which I really love. So yeah, it's kind of fun. It's like a friend sampler. I'm really enjoying stitching on that. All right. Next up, we have another Fancy Lady. This is November Topaz Fairy by Mirabilia. This is another Fancy Lady where the photo really does not do her justice. Like, this photo is so bad, and her actual colors and like the actual stitched piece are so beautiful. So I go to the Queen City Stitch Retreat every year. It is in October. And last year it was Mirabilia themed, and Nora Corbett, the designer, was actually there. And so our brag table was all Mirabilia. And it gives this amazing opportunity to see all of the pieces in person. Well, not all of them, but to see so much beautiful stitching in person. And Mirabilia, again, is really one where the photos like do not do the pieces justice at all. If you want to see actually a video of the brag table, I believe Deb, the traveling stocking stitcher, has posted it. I will try to put a link down below. I will definitely link to Deb's Flosstube. Anyway, I saw this in person, I want to say at the first Mirabilia retreat that Queen City did in 2023, and bought the pattern. And then this past year in 2025, Amber, Rogue Mama Stitcher, came and she was stitching this and it looked so beautiful. I was like, I have to start it. So like I said, this is November Topaz Fairy. If you want to see like a better idea of the colors, please go look at Amber's Flosstube or her Instagram. I am stitching this on a one-of-a-kind hand-dyed by Rolanda. I don't remember if it's 32 or 28. It is opalescent, and here is my start. I started in her dress because I wanted to make sure that like the yellows would look okay on this fabric. I think it's looking awesome. I'm very excited to keep stitching on her. Like I said, the photos do not do her justice. Like the like yellows and then the like lavender gray tones that make the shadows. The flowers are all pinks. Like, it's actually really beautiful. So yeah, that's my little start on that one. And I love her on the Rolanda. I love hand dyed by Rolanda fabrics. She does these like one of a kind, like cool swirly dyes, and they're just, yeah, they're just like, it's just beautiful. Sparkly, not sparkly, I love them all. So that is that one. All right. Woo. You know, I talk a lot and we're already like 45 minutes in and I am not even like close to halfway through my WIPs. Whoopsies. All right, next up is Spring Quaker by Leela's Studio. This piece is part of a seasonal Quaker series. I really like them. I think Spring Quaker is probably my favorite. I also have Summer Quaker started. I actually decided to do a color conversion on this. So the photo that you will see is, you'll see that a lot of the motifs are brown, and I am not like a brown person. So I decided that I wanted to convert it to some pinks. But I still wanted to keep some of the brown in there. So here is my little schematic for what Quakers are getting done, which colors. I very scientifically use some highlighters and I put what DMC colors are going to be each over here. And I'll show you my start. So here is my start. This is on 40 count Milk and Honey by Fiber on a Whim. And here is my start. So what I decided to do, the colors that I am adding in are DMC 223 and DMC 3722. So you can see these are the two pinks that I'm adding in are this pink, which is the 3722, and then the pink of these letters, which is the 223. It's a little bit lighter. So what I decided to do was I added in these two pinks. This is also the 3722. So I'm doing the lettering in the 223. Now, this I think is the only seasonal Quaker that has a full alphabet in it. And what I decided to do is I pulled a different pink from the existing palette, and I'm doing the letters to the word spring in that deeper pink. So that they stand out. And then, so if you look, so there's this brown, and then there's also, you can see there's a little bit of it in, there's like that brown, and that is the brown, that little color that most of these Quakers motifs were in. And like I said, not really a brown person, so I decided to do the pinks instead. I love the way this is coming out. I love the pinks that I chose. Here is the color palette. Here, I'll like kind of shake it out. You can't quite see all of the colors, but there's some of them, and then there's the rest of them. This is the brown that most of the Quakers were in, which, like, it's fine. It's a fine brown. It's nice, but it's brown. I'm not really a brown person, so yeah. So I put in those pinks. It's looking great. It's very, very pretty. This is a great neutral. It's looking good. I also just love, I think the thing that makes this one my favorite, and I'll show my schematic again, is the saying, no matter how long the winter, spring is sure to follow. It's been a really hard past year for a lot of people, I think. It's been a really hard past year for me and for my family. I lost someone close to me very unexpectedly in the spring. The political situation has been devastating. There's just been a lot going on. And so that message, no matter how long the winter is, spring is sure to follow, feels very hopeful and timely at the moment. So I've been enjoying working on this and keeping that in my heart. Because yeah, I like that sort of hopeful. Who doesn't like a hopeful message, right? But yeah, it's nice to have something hopeful like that in my life. Right. Next up is something that is coming out of a piece of very good news from my past year. As I mentioned earlier, I live with my fiance. We got engaged this past year. We're getting married in the spring of 2027. I am so excited. I am disgustingly in love with him. He is just like the sweetest, most wonderful partner I could ever ask for. I'm so lucky to have him. And I'm really excited for our wedding. Like, it's just, yeah, he's great. Anyway, I am stitching a wedding sampler for us, and I have decided that I want to stitch it before my wedding, and I want to have it at the wedding to display. So this I do have a goal for. And this is the sampler that I chose is Birds to the Boughs by Lindy Stitches. I love this piece. I love the poem. I love the saying. I love the colors. It's really beautiful. And I am stitching this on 32 count Haze by Oak Crown Studios, which is the fabric dyeing company of my friend Fiber Arts Amy. This is a very lightly modeled, like lightly dyed color. So I think it will probably be a little bit tough to see. You can see that a little bit of the modeling. You can see a little bit of the modeling in here. There's like some blue, there's some yellow, but it is a bit tough to see, but I just think it really makes the color stand out. Here's where I am at. So like I said, I do have a goal for this piece. I want to finish this and have it framed and at my wedding. I am going to put the date in. There's like a spot for your initials over here, and then there's like a little tree over here next to the other bird. I'm probably going to take out that tree and put the date and some leaves around it. Yeah. I did actually, I like never do this because again, I don't do well with deadline stitching, but I did make myself a little tracker in my planner. So this year, this is, you know, the planner that's going to change my life. This year I am trying to be better about tracking things so that way I can have things written down for my floss tube and also because it's fun. And I decided to make a tracker for birds to the bows. Here's my little tracker. So that is the stitch number on the top. It is 14,883 stitches, plus there's back stitch. I would like to have it done by March at the latest. So I have a little over a year to finish it. And I decided that I would track my progress in 100 stitch blocks. And here I'm just going to color it in as I stitch. I am choosing different highlighter colors for each month of the year so I can just see my progress. I think that will be fun. Yeah. Could I have done this on like computerized and not taken the like however long it took me to draw this out? Yes. But it was fun. And it's going to be fun to fill in. So that's exciting. Yeah. And I have a little heart at the end for when it's done. So I'm excited to see that. I'm stitching that with all of the called for colors. The only thing is, in the cover photo, so it looked to me in the cover photo like the sort of middle motifs were like really orange. And when I looked at the color palette, hold on, let me try and hold this up. Sorry, I'm arranging the floss artistically here. Okay. Yeah, so, and I don't know if you can see it, but the middle motif is sort of in this color, which is 976. And it is orange, but it's sort of like a dust, almost like a rustier orange. It's like, it leans towards brown, and I wanted like a little bit more pop of color. So I pulled two other colors. I pulled 720 and 3853, and those are the two bright oranges that are on the end here. So 720 is the darker one, 3853 is the lighter one. There we go. And those are like orange. And so I think some of those center motifs that were supposed to be in 976, I'm actually going to stitch in one of those oranges. I'm also thinking that I will stitch the crowns on the birds in metallics, in like gold. So we'll see. But it's coming along beautifully. I am very much enjoying it. It's a nice stitch. It's an easy stitch. I'm halfway down the border on this right side. Left side, I guess, because I'm facing forward. Yeah. Halfway down the border on this left side. Yeah, it's looking good. I'm excited. I hope people appreciate it when I haven't displayed at my wedding. All right. I've been doing this for an hour almost. I am not even close to halfway through. I am going to take a break and eat some lunch because I am hungry. All right. I'll be back. All right. Hello. Welcome back to my WIP parade. It is tomorrow. Well, it's today, but it's tomorrow from the last video. And I am going to have to speed up a little bit because I got through 13 of my 64 WIPs yesterday, which is less than a quarter, and it took me almost an hour. So unless this is going to be several feature-length films long, which I don't think it needs to be, I gotta move it. Now, to be fair, my intro was in yesterday's video, but still. All right, back to the WIPs in no particular order. All right, so first up for today, we have Autumn Blaze by Nora Corbett. This is one of her pixies from the Nora Corbett collection. These are smaller and easier to stitch because they are smaller scale than the full size Mirabilia designs. I decided to stitch this one tiny as part of the Petite Pixies SAL. with my friend Melissa of Sheba Designs. Just so you know, also Melissa is an amazing bag maker. Most of my project bags come from Melissa. She's incredible. You can find her on Etsy. She's also an amazing stitcher, and she stitches all of her Miras, and Nora is teeny. So she stitches them on 40 count usually, 1/2. Now, excuse me, I decided to go really teeny, and so I am stitching my Autumn Blaze 1/1 on 28 count. Now, because it is so small, I decided to sub out the beads for metallics. So instead of beading, I am using metallic thread, Petite Treasure braid, and I am actually close to done. I am getting there. So here is my WIP. Here she is. And she is on 28 count Marl Lake, which is a hand-painted fabric by Crosswing Collection. I love this fabric so much that I actually bought a half yard of it when I saw it in a shop. It is stunning for any like mermaid or pixie. I think it's gorgeous. So here she is. Sorry, the window is on the same side as I'm holding my pieces, so when I put this up, I end up in shadow. But anyway, here she is. She is 1/1 on 28 count, so she is teensy weensy. This is an 1/8 of fabric, so she's really small. I don't know if you can really see. I have some metallic in her dress already. I don't know if you can see the sparkle, but there's a little bit in there. You can see it in person. So I need to finish her wings, and then she has some metallics up here with some swirlies, and there's a little bit of metallics down here and some back stitch, and I obviously need to back stitch her face and her arms, and then she will be done. So she is close. These wings though are very dense, and there are a lot of color changes, so I kind of got a little bit stalled there, but yeah, she's looking gorgeous. I love this fabric. I want to stitch more. I want to stitch another Petite Pixie on the other side, and I want to stitch like more mermaids on this because I just think it's stunning. Alrighty. Next up, we have the Black Butterfly Sampler by Shaded Stitchery. I love Shaded Stitchery. I've stitched one of her designs so far. The designer, Nuri, is really, really awesome and sweet, and her designs are really great. I stitched and finished the Hip Hop Sampler by her. I also own probably, I don't know, probably 10 of her patterns. She is doing so she did a really cool piece called Data Portraits in Paris. I own that piece. I have not stitched it yet. And that is based on W.E.B. Du Bois's data portraits from, I believe it was the 1901 World's Fair in Paris about African Americans, I think, Black Americans. And she is doing a Data Portraits in Paris Part 2 stitch along starting next month, I think, starting in February. So I did purchase the floss pack and the pattern for the stitch along, so I will be getting that as it comes out. I usually don't tend to keep up with them, but I'm gonna try. We'll see. If I don't, I'm still excited to stitch it once it's all finished. Anyway, so this piece is the Black Butterfly Sampler. I am stitching this as a memorial piece for my grandmother, who really loved butterflies. She and I were very, very close. She passed away in 2017. She was 93. She loved butterflies, like I said. She also loved rainbows. I think that's part of where my love of rainbows came from. So I am stitching this on a piece of 40 count Verdal. It is a one-of-a-kind piece hand-dyed by Banana Oil Fabrics. If you don't know Banana Oil Fabrics, they are on Etsy. They dye one-of-a-kind pieces. They're really beautiful. I'm very excited about this. I think it's lovely. And I am stitching this in Black India Ink Silk by Gloriana. So here is my start. I have the whole border done. I have not put in anything inside of the border. Now, I made a mistake on this border. This section here is several stitches too wide, unfortunately. For now, I'm leaving it. I might fudge it I don't want to restitch the border. That being said, I like the tight spacing on the original, and so I might pull it out. We'll see. I want to start stitching the butterflies in here, and then I might try it with a row of the lettering and see what I think. But yeah, so that is my start. The border is looking lovely on this fabric. It's beautiful. It's delicate. She's beauty. She's grace. She's Miss United States. No, but it's a beautiful fabric. I don't think I realized quite how small this was going to be. I think I was sort of hoping it would reach down a little further, but when I frame this, I certainly will cut it out so that you have like a full rainbow effect from the fabric. So that's my start on that. Next up, I have another recent start. This is the Disagree Sampler by Rebel Stitcher Designs. Colleen, another amazing designer, actually lives fairly close to me over here on the East Coast near Philadelphia. Colleen is awesome. She is a fellow queer stitcher. She is a great designer. I have a few pieces by her in my rotation. Sorry, I shook the table. I love the sentiment of this piece. And I decided to stitch it. So I am stitching the lettering in black étoile, and then I pulled a bunch of crazy variegated rainbow flosses for the Quakers around the edges. So here is my WIP. You can see me pulling it out of the pile next to me. So again, I have a small start on the lettering that is black étoile. And like I said, I pulled a bunch of variegated flosses from my collection. So I have a baggie full of flosses. You can see in there's Cottage Garden threads. There's Night Spirit Studios. I have a Bisexual Pride pack from a company called Norgrove Enterprises. That's on Etsy. Let's see what else I have in here. I have some HDF silks, which are like the Vicky Clayton silks. I have some Roxy Flosscoat. So I just pulled a bunch of flosses that I liked out of my collection. This floss is a floss that I have used in the past for like trans pride because it has the pink and the blue. So yeah, I really wanted to sort of focus on pride colors. That's why I wanted to do sort of the rainbow theme. So that's like the direction that I'm leaning in. We will see. Like I said, I just put a bunch of beautiful flosses in here, and I will pull what feels good when I'm working on those Quakers. So like I said, just a small start. I try to stitch on this when I'm feeling sort of upset or hopeless about what's going on in the US. Yeah, it's been a really hard year. It's been a really hard few years. This feels particularly relevant right now with the murder of Renee Good in Minnesota. And also with the administration pulling funding from hospitals that support gender-affirming care clinics for minors. It's just, yeah. Trump is a fascist. I'm afraid for the future of our country. I am convinced that he is going to try to either subvert or eliminate the elections. I truly believe that ICE is acting as an analog of the SS in this country. It's really scary. Yeah, there's a lot going on. It's really hard. It's very, very frightening as someone who has dear friends and family members who are immigrants, both documented and undocumented, and also folks that I'm close to who are trans, and some of whom have trans kids. It's a hard time. It's a really hard time. And I love this piece for the message, the strong message that it has, and also the beauty of the design. So thank you, Colleen, for making this, and I'm excited to be stitching on it. I'm sure it will get a lot of work. in the next few months and years. Yeah. So that is that. Next up, we have a piece that is a travel. I started it as a travel piece. It hasn't gotten a ton of work. I also dropped my flosses, so let me grab those. Ugh. Okay, I'm back. All right. So this is Home is Where the Pants Aren't. It's from Etsy. I originally saw, if you do not watch Elizabeth over at Savory Stitching, you should. Her floss tubes are fantastic. Her fabric and floss choices are gorgeous. Like, she stitches really interesting stuff. I love her floss tube. Anyway, she stitched this. I am now stitching it. I loved it because I am a pantsless person. I have a bad habit of being like, I don't want to be wearing pants anymore and taking them off, even if we, like, you know, have house guests. I am famous amongst my friends for not being very modest. I also love the cheeky peaches on this pattern. I pulled my own floss and fabric for this, so I am stitching the lettering in, I actually don't remember which one I chose. So I am stitching the lettering in, I think it's the Roxy Flosco? I don't. Yes, it is the Roxy Flosco because I have not cut the ends of the Rolanda floss yet. But I pulled Ruby Whisper by Hand Dyed by Rolanda and Sommelier by Roxy Flosco. So those are the colors for the lettering. They're like a beautiful, deep, like burgundy red. Sommelier is the perfect name for this color, I think, because it is most certainly like a wine red. And then I pulled 3 coloring cotton variegateds for the peaches. They are apricot, nectarine, and light coral. Technically the peaches have 4 colors in them, I think, but I can just fussy cut / like fussy stitch some of those sections. So those are the colors I'm going to use for my peaches. I'm very excited. I'll find a green for the leaves. I am probably going to modify the leafy green border because I don't need to stitch that many green leaves. I will not enjoy that. So I'll do something with that, but definitely need those peaches and the lettering. All right, next up, so we're moving today. See, I got it going. All right, next up is another fancy lady. This is Cathedral Woods Goddess. This is a Mirabilia. This is a smaller Mirabilia. So if you are wanting to stitch a Mira, but you're a little bit overwhelmed by the size of them, Cathedral Woods Goddess is a good place to start, although I will say she has a lot of metallics in her, and she does have quite a bit of beading, which I love, although people talk about like metallics being fine. I don't especially like stitching with metallics. I do think they're kind of a pain in the ass. I stitch with short lengths. I use a larger needle, like smaller number, which means bigger, thicker needle with bigger eye. I always use a threader, like a needle threader. I'm a floss slicker, I know. Blasphemy. But I always use a needle threader with metallics because it's just so much easier. And actually with all of my metallics, I use like Thread Magic or some sort of thread conditioner. I find that it doesn't like dull the metallics at all. You just run the floss over the beeswax or the thread conditioner and then you run it through your fingers and it gets off any of the excess. And it just makes it smoother and much easier to stitch with. Anyway, I have not started putting any of the metallics into Cathedral Woods Goddess yet. She is on a Hand Dyed by Rolanda fabric. This is a 32 count, I believe, linen. I think this is a one of a kind. I bought it at Stitch North. So Rolanda, Hand Dyed by Rolanda does have like a standard collection of fabrics that she dyes. She also dyes like one of a kinds. So you can buy both from her. I am not sure which one this is. But here she is. Here's my start. You can see, so all of this like empty stuff in here, all of this empty space in here is all going to be for metallics. There's like a beaded choker in here. So I did use a skin conversion for her. Her skin is darker than the called for. Kansas City Girl and a Colorado World used the same skin conversion. I believe it's one of the standard ones that like Lord Libiton has provided. I know it has 407 in it. If anyone is curious, I'm happy to send you the info. Just message me on Instagram or put a comment below and I will post it. Otherwise, she is as called for. I love her. She is super, this was like not a ton of days of work. She is a super quick stitch because she's like tall and skinny and she doesn't have any background. So I do want to get back to her. She's really enjoyable. Her dress is all teals, which I'm excited to get in. So yeah, she's looking beautiful. Love her. And I love the fabric she's on. I really wanted something foresty, so I wanted like a greens and browns fabric for her. Obviously, I want people to see my stitching and I want her to stand out on the fabric, but I also feel like a Cathedral Woods Goddess would sort of blend into like the environment. So I wanted something that had that woodsy feel. So there we go. All right, this is my saddest. Next one up is my saddest Mirabilia start. This is the Muse. I really love this. I, of course, want to get back to it. I started, she's actually a beautiful design. She uses a lot of water lilies. I think she uses like 5 or 6 water lilies. So I'm excited to get into stitching all of the variegated flosses on her. She is stitched on 32 count Havisham by Picture This Plus. Here is my sad start. It's so sad it's hard to tell what is up. I have an arrow stitched on my fabric so I know which way to hold the fabric. All right, so here is my sad start. Just the stem in the middle of her dress. Sorry, I have a ton of natural light and it's beautiful. I think it's causing the color to show up really nicely. It is like blowing out the fabric a little bit. Here, I'll lean back. So Havisham is a beautiful purple and yellow mottled fabric from Picture This Plus. I love this fabric for this piece. I think all of the purples and the greens in this piece like really will pop off of this fabric. Yeah, I also just love, like, I love yellow, I love purple, I love them together. They're really fun, complementary colors, so I'm excited about this. I actually started that also with my friend Melissa of Sheba Designs at a retreat. So, yeah, I'm really sad because Melissa is not coming to any of the retreats that I'm going to this year, which is a bummer. It's hard because, like, so I love going to retreats. I go to a lot of them, and I have Flosstube itchy nose for sure. Anyway, when you go to a lot of retreats, you make stitchy friends, which is awesome. But then you want to see your stitchy friends and you want to go to new retreats. So it is a challenge to coordinate, like going to all the retreats, getting to see your stitchy friends, all of that. It's a lot. It's worth it though. I love going to retreats. Like I said, I go to several every year. It's so fun. I love being around other stitchers. I love getting stitching done. I love shopping. Like, it's just, it's the best. I am very extroverted. So like, of course I love going to retreats, but I will say even my more introverted friends have said that it's really a lot of fun. I think for me, the key to retreats is knowing your limits and being willing to do what you need to do to take care of yourself. Like remembering to eat, remembering to rest, remembering that if you're not in the stitching room, like it's okay. You're not gonna like miss something super important. You're not gonna like miss something super important, right? So, and if there is something going on, like the retreat organizers will tell you, you get a schedule usually that says like, oh, on, Saturday at 7 is the raffle, or on Friday at 10 is when the artist is going to be talking or whatever. So you always know when something like that is happening. So you can sort of plan your schedule around those things and around your own needs, which is really helpful. All right. Next up, we have Dog's Declaration. This piece is by Ink Circles. This is going to be absolutely massive. I am stitching it on a one-of-a-kind piece of fabric from Grace Notes Fabrics. It is 28 count, which is why this piece is going to be so huge. It is worth it because the fabric is stunning. I am stitching this with the called for Valdani flosses. These are Valdani cottons. And let me hold these up for you. So this is the only piece I've ever stitched that calls for these Valdani cottons. They're gorgeous. So they are really pretty. They are lightly variegated. Let's see. Yeah, they are lightly variegated. They have a very matte finish to them. And they're really nice to work with. Like, I am loving stitching with them. I bought one skein of each color and then realized that I might need more because I'm stitching it so huge. And I think the called for on this piece is like 36 count maybe. So we'll see. Hopefully I don't run into dye lot issues. If I do, I'll figure it out. But yeah, these Valdani cottons are beautiful. I really like them. I know that some of the, I want to say the Rosewood Manor Quakers call for Valdanis, but I think they're the ones that are like in the balls, Valdani silks maybe, and these are actually the cottons. Anyway, let me show you my piece. So I have just gotten started on this. It feels like I have a lot done, but actually it's hardly anything at all considering how much text there is even. So this is where I am on Dog's Declaration. Ta-da! How gorgeous is this fabric? I love this fabric. This is a full half yard. I think this will take up most of this half yard. If you want to see it a little bit further along, Hannah Dowling, who is another Flosstuber, she and I actually split this piece. It was a yard of fabric and she and I split it. She is stitching the same piece on the same fabric. So, and she definitely has more done in this top left corner. So if you want to see more done, go see her, but oh, so beautiful. And here, let me hold up the floss with this. Ugh, there we go. Like, look how pretty that is. So pretty. I love it. Yeah. It's looking great. I love it. And actually, if you want to see, let me hold this up closer so you can see, really see how the floss looks on the fabric. See that? Like, you can see the subtle variegation in the letters. Like, it's looking beautiful. Yeah, I love it. I love it. This is another one. I'm like, oh, needle minders. I'm like, oh, I really have to get back to that. I really want to keep stitching on that. Not enough time. Not enough time. I need 8 arms. I need to be like a stitchy octopus where I can stitch like 4 projects at a time. The other thing for me, so I am not a fast stitcher, like at all. I am a slow stitcher, I would say. And I often talk about how I wish I was faster. And it's not because I want to finish more things necessarily, although sure, that would be nice. But for me, it's really more that there's so much that I want to stitch. There's so much that I enjoy stitching. And I just want to get to it all. Like, I am sure, like many stitchers, I have hit Sable a long time ago. Sable being stash acquired beyond life expectancy. But I want to stitch all the stuff I have. Like, I want to stitch all the patterns. I buy the patterns because I want to stitch them. So it is very sad to realize that I will never get to stitch them all. And I hate that I have to choose. All right, next up is 1544 Band Sampler. So this is another piece by Works by ABC. This is from a historic piece of needlework. This is from a historic band sampler, and I am doing a bit of a different twist on it. So I talked earlier about how I have like all these fun flosses and don't always know what to do with them. This is one of those pieces where I was like, oh, this could be fun to do in different colors. So I started my band sampler. I'm maybe like a little more than, I think I'm a third of the way through, and I am doing each band in a different hand-dyed variegated floss. I love it. I feel like it sort of looks, instead of looking like traditional needlework, I feel like it sort of looks like some sort of alien language or something. Here is the ring of flosses that I have pulled. Again, from all different companies. You have Forbidden Fiber Co. Let's see what's on here. You have Forbidden Fiber Co. You have Night Stalkers. You have some Mrs. Sadist silks. You have a Dying for Sass, Fiberlicious. Yeah, so lots of different designers. What I am trying to do, if you look, I'm trying to pull one element from the line before into the next line color-wise. So, for example, like this has the yellow and the yellow. This is pink and pink. This has little bits of pink in the flecks. Here you have like, it's a purple with little bits of, again, like an orangey pink in there. Lots of pink in here. Here you're pulling in the purple. Then you have like the corally color in both of these. Here, it's the blue and the blue. I think my next floss up is this one, which again, the tie is the pink. That is Mean Green Mean Machine by Forbidden Fiber Co. is going to be the next floss. So like that's the one I have next. Then after that, I have, again, tying in the pink, I have Hocus Pocus by Night Stalkers. Then after that, I have Toxic Love by Night Stalkers, which is crazy, and I love it, and I can't wait to see it all stitched up. Look at that. It's like all speckly and cool. Yeah, there we go. Let's get it nice and close. Ooh, ooh. Yeah, so that's going to be really cool. I'm excited for that. All right. So that is 1544 band sampler. Once again, I have no idea. Like, I don't know what I'm going to do with this when I'm done. Also, you see, I use the very high-tech method of painter's tape on my fabric. Kids, don't do this. Do as I say, not as I do. Do not put tape on your fabric. It will leave icky, sticky stuff behind. Amy of Fiber Arts Amy is probably having an absolute fit right now. Sorry, Amy. But yeah, but my point was, I don't know what I'm going to do with this. Like, I don't know if I'm going to hang it somewhere, turn it into a bell pull, like make a project bag. I don't know. But I'm really enjoying stitching it. All right. Next up we have, the first of my chatelaines. So, for those of you who do not know what a chatelaine is, Chatelaine Designs is a company started by a hugely talented artist named Martina. Chatelaine is most famous for its very large and elaborate mandala designs. So what I would advise, if you are interested in, if you love a stitching challenge, if you love a BAP, if you love something that's beautiful and blingy, I would advise going onto the Chatelaine Gallery. I will put the link below, and just looking through all of the beautiful chatelaines. There are so many. Photos do not do them justice. Even good photos do not do them justice. They are stunning. Stunning in person. Stunning. So last July, Fiber Arts Amy and Maggie Kitschy Whips of the Queen City Stitch Retreat, they hosted the first chatelaine weekend, Queen City chatelaine weekend, in July of 2025. I attended. It was awesome. I bought more chatelaines than I could probably ever finish in my lifetime. I started a new chatelaine every day that I was there. The other thing that's cool and special about chatelaines is that they use a ton of different fibers. Like, they use silks, they use cottons, they use silk lame braid, they use like petite princess pearl, which is like a pearl silk, like heavier twisted fiber that is made by Gloriana. And they also use a ton of specialty stitches. Now, there are many amazing resources out there. So I had never done any specialty stitches like ever, aside from backstitch and French knots, but I had never done any other specialty stitches before I attended the chatelaine weekend. And I always thought I would find them to be kind of a chore. And then we worked on them during the chatelaine weekend and they were so fun. So now I'm like excited to get to the specialty stitches in my chatelaines. So the first chatelaine that I ever started is Small Hammam Oasis. It looks like this. I will post a photo. Like I said, photos do not do these justice. They are just beautiful. They're also quite large. I would say small Hammam Oasis is like a medium to small chatelaine. There are small chatelaines out there. There are small designs. I'm actually about to start one with a friend that is like less than 100 by 100. And it is mostly DMC. It has 2 or 3 silks in it and like 1 metallic and some beads. And it's a great introduction to doing chatelaines because it's like little, it's a little mandala. It's really pretty. I'm excited to start that. I will show that in my next floss tube, I'm sure. Anyway, back to Small Hammam Oasis. This is the first chatelaine that I ever started. I saw it on, there was a woman in Britain who had a floss tube that I loved. And she showed this on her channel and I was like, oh my God, that's so stunning. I have to stitch it. And I mean, Maggie and Amy are both like amazing stitchers and they are so into chatelaines and they have been stitching chatelaines forever. And I was always like, oh, I don't know if I want to dip my toes into chatelaine. Like, I don't know. They're really big. They're expensive to kit up. That being said, Deb, the traveling stocking stitcher, has, actually just posted a video with 50 tips for how to kit up a chatelaine and save money. I will put a link to her floss tube down below. The chatelaine patterns do provide substitution suggestions for the silks. So you can stitch them in DMC. There are chatelaines that are mostly DMC. You can substitute the silks with variegated flosses that are not silk. Like there are options. But anyway, I am stitching Small Hammam Oasis. This was my first chatelaine start. I am stitching this on 28 count ivory linen. I think it's just a plain Zweigart fabric. And here is my start. I'm just showing this off to you so you can marvel in the beauty. So I have not really put in any of the specialty stitches yet. I put in some half stitches in here. You can see I'm starting to put in the metallics, but there are specialty stitches all along here. There's some specialty stitches in here. Yeah, I mean, even just this small section is stunning. That being said, so there's this whole rest of the middle, there's a bottom section of the middle, and then there's 2 side panels. So these are big. They're quite large. This fits on a fat quarter. And it's basically, I mean, the section that's stitched is basically full coverage. So it's basically full coverage from like here to here or so. This will definitely be a long-term project. That's okay. I'm loving stitching on it. It's such a joy. It's really fun to work with all the different materials. It's really fun to look forward to doing the specialty stitches. I love how it's coming out. Yeah, it's great. At some point I want to do like a deep dive into chatelaine video where I sort of talk about like how I approach it as a new chatelaine stitcher, all the resources for chatelaine stitchers. If you are interested in stitching a chatelaine, do not be afraid. Feel free to reach out to me. I'm happy to like talk you through picking one out, etc. I know like Maggie of Kitschy Whips, Amy of Fiber Arts Amy would be happy also to talk you through it. I will say too, so Katie Ten Eyck of Sosna Designs designed an exclusive pattern for the chatelaine retreat. I will put a photo of it here. It is called the Water Lily Beaded Tile. It is inspired by the style of chatelaines. It is stunning. I definitely want to stitch it. She is also a great person to reach out to, and she has a few designs available that are chatelaine style, but are not as large or intimidating. She also has a design, I don't remember what I think it's called like the Pollinators. It is beautiful. I will put a photo of it here. I saw a model of that at the chatelaine weekend. Also stunning. Bought it immediately. Cannot wait to start it. It's on my list for this year. It's gorgeous. So yeah, There are lots of people you can reach out to. There's also a hashtag Chatelaine Wednesday. Amy and Maggie, again, started it as a way to get people working on chatelaines. They are doing a chatelaine stitch along. Like, they're super into it, and it's really fun. So if you're interested, like, I would really encourage you to go look at the Chatelaine Gallery, like, enjoy browsing through all the beautifulness, like, pick one out that you love, even if it's massive, and, like, reach out to someone who stitches. There's a Chatelaine support group on Facebook that is, like, happy to help out. It's definitely a project, right? Like, it is a project. The patterns are different than regular cross stitch patterns because they have all the specialty stitches in them. Like, you're using different flosses, like, all of that is true. And also, it is such a fun stitching experience, and they are so beautiful when they're complete. Oh, not even when they're complete. They're beautiful as you're stitching them. Like, this is gorgeous. And I'm not even close to done, and already, like, I love looking at it. There are several chatelaine mandalas that I will show you. I have a few started. But there are several that I don't even have started where I love the whole mandala, but I know I'm not going to stitch the whole thing. And I'm like, you know what? What if I just stitch the center? Or what if I just pull like an element from one of the sides and like stitch that? So there's a lot you can actually do that is not stitching like a, you know, a 20 by 20 mandala, if that's not for you. Now, am I stitching several 20 by 20 mandalas? Yes. Will they be probably lifelong projects? Yes. Is it going to be awesome? Is it awesome now as I'm working on them? Yes. Most of the time. I did recently, I'll show you, on one of them there were some overwon fish that almost got me, but we persevered. But nevertheless, she persisted. And yes, I am using that very sweet, very political statement in a facetious way. All right. On a less huge project note, next up we have Love is Love by Jan Hicks. This is a pride piece, one of many that I hope to stitch. I love this. This is the Progress Pride flag. I am actually stitching this in paint box design, hand-dyed threads. These threads are actually they're not stranded threads. I don't think they're single ply because they're like twisted. They're sort of like sulkies in that way, but you don't like strand them. You stitch them with one whole, like they come off of the skein and you just stitch them with one whole strand. So here's where I'm at. I bought like a rainbow and a neutrals pack from Paintbox Designs, and I am just stitching using those. Using the appropriate colors from that pack. So here's my start. I am debating switching. So the way that this is designed, it is hanging vertically. And if you hang an actual pride flag, an actual Progress Pride flag vertically like this, because it is meant to face this way, you end up with purple over here and red over here. Because, again, when you hang the flag, it goes like this, and so the purple is on the bottom, red is on the top. That being said, because this is a vertical piece and will never be hung horizontally, I'm debating switching the order of the rainbow so that it reads red to purple, hanging vertically. I'm not sure yet what I'm going to do because I'm aware that that is backwards technically, but I think it will look, I think I will like the look of it better. Let me know what you think. Again, so the words love is love go across the top, so I will never be hanging this way, which is why I want to switch the colors. So I'm thinking about that. Not sure yet what I'm going to do. Let me know if you have an opinion. Oh, and let me just show you with the paint box threads. You can see here, I don't know if it's in focus. Here, let me put it in front of my face. So you can see here, it's just one ply, and it comes straight off the skein that way. Yeah, I like stitching with them. It's very much like I said, like stitching with sulky. I do have to use a needle threader to get the thread through the eye of my needle because it's like a little thick. I'll be honest, I prefer stitching with stranded cotton, but I do love like the saturation of these colors, and I'm excited for how it's gonna look on this flag. I have many rainbow designs planned to stitch. I love stitching rainbows, so I am sure you will see more of both these threads and of pride flags in my future. All right, I've been filming for 43 minutes. I have a call in 2 minutes. I'm going to hop off, take my call, and then hop back on. I will see y'all on the flip side.